He almost ignored the call. It came at the worst possible moment past midnight, after a double shift with his daughter asleep on the couch because the heater in their tiny apartment had broken again. When the unknown number flashed on his scratched phone screen, Daniel Harper figured it was a telemarketer or another overdue bill. But the trembling voice on the other end that stopped him, it wasn't the words she said, "Stay with me tonight. Please, I don't want to die." Alone, it was how she said them, quiet, scared, like someone who'd run out of strength long before they ran out of hope. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected miracles, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps us keep telling stories like this. Daniel thought it was a wrong number. He knew it was, but something inside him, something tired and deeply human, wouldn't let him hang up. The woman's breathing was uneven, her voice fading in and out as machines beeped softly around her. Before he understood what he was doing, he was shoving his daughter's blanket over her, locking the apartment door, and rushing into the freezing night toward St. Mary's Hospital. The city felt different at that hour, quieter. Heavier streetlights flickered over rain-soaked sidewalks as he ran, soaked to the bone. He didn't know who she was, or why she called him. All he knew was that no one deserved to face death alone, and maybe he didn't want to be alone either. Inside the hospital, everything smelled like disinfectant and fear. Nurses rushed past him with urgent voices and tired eyes. When he gave them the room number, the woman whispered before going silent. They hesitated, looked him overworn jacket, calloused hands, exhaustion carved into his face. But they let him through. When he stepped into the dim hospital room, he froze. The woman in the bed looked impossibly fragile, yet oddly graceful, as if she had lived a life that once shimmered with bright lights and luxury. Before it dimmed into shadows, her red hair spilled across the pillow like a fading flame. Machines beeped beside her, displaying numbers that didn't look good. Even to a man who had never attended medical school, she wasn't just sick. She was dying. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, then they settled on him. Relief washed over her face like a wave breaking against a shoreline. "You came," she whispered. He didn't have the heart to admit the truth, that she had called the wrong number, that he was a stranger, that he had nothing to offer except presence. So he nodded and moved closer, pulling a chair to her bedside. Her hand was cold when he took it, fragile enough to break. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The room hummed with soft machinery, casting slow pulses of light across the walls. Outside, the world kept turning, oblivious to the two broken souls inside this quiet space. As the minutes passed, she began to talk, not in a dramatic rush, but in the slow, drifting way of someone whose memories mattered more now than money or titles or anything people spent their lives chasing. She told him her name was Elena Vale, though she didn't mention that she was the only daughter of one of the richest men in the state. He learned that detail later from the hushed whispers of nurses. Elena didn't talk about her wealth. She talked about what she lost: her mother, her friends, her health, her father's love swallowed by power and business deals, a lifetime of expectations that made her feel like a ghost in her own life. Daniel listened quietly, holding her hand. Emotion swelled in his chest: empathy, sorrow, a strange connection forming between two strangers who should never have crossed paths. He told her a little about himself, too, how his wife died years ago, leaving him to raise their daughter Emily alone, how he worked 2 jobs to keep them afloat, how exhausted he felt day after day fighting battles. No one ever saw. Something softened in Elena's eyes as she whispered that she envied him not for his struggles, but for his ability to love so fiercely despite all. Had lost as dawn crept in through the blinds, casting pale light across her face. Her breathing became weaker. Doctors came and went, adjusting tubes and exchanging grim looks they tried to hide. But Elena seemed calm now, anchored by the presence of a man she believed she had called intentionally, even if it had been an accident. When the pain surged, her fingers tightened around his. He leaned closer, whispering gently that she wasn't alone, that he wasn't going anywhere. Hours passed like seconds. Seconds passed like lifetimes. At one point she whispered that she wished she had spent her life differently, not chasing status, not pleasing people who never cared, not holding back the love she always had but never gave. Daniel squeezed her hand, and she looked at him with a fragile but genuine smile. She said she was grateful that out of everyone she could have called her last wish, had been heard by someone with a real heart late in the afternoon. While the hallway outside buzzed with life, a sudden panic rose in him. As Elena's breathing stuttered, doctors rushed in, machines blared, and he was ushered out of the room for 20 agonizing minutes. He waited with his hands pressed against his forehead, feeling helpless and strangely terrified when the door finally opened. A doctor approached him with soft eyes. Elena was alive, but barely. She didn't have much time left. They said she was asking for him. He entered the room quietly. Her eyes were closed at first. Then they opened slowly, searching for his face. Her voice was a broken whisper as she thanked him, not for saving her life because he couldn't, but for giving her something she hadn't felt in years: peace. She told him that for one night she hadn't felt like a billionaire heiress or a dying patient. She had felt human again before she fell asleep. For the last time, she placed something in his hand, a small folded paper. She told him not to open it until she was gone. Minutes later, surrounded by soft beeping that gradually slowed, her breathing faded into stillness. The room grew unbearably quiet. Daniel stood there, tears slipping silently down his face. He opened the paper. It was a handwritten letter, shaky but clear. She thanked him for his kindness, for his time, and for being the one person who stayed when everyone else walked away. At the bottom was a signature authorizing a trust fund for his daughter, more than enough to change her entire future. He sank into the chair, overwhelmed. Not because of the money, though it would save them, but because a stranger he met on the last night of her life chose to leave a part of her hope with him. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these real human stories alive. Before you go, comment, "I believe kindness still exists," to let me know you were here.